Hi, welcome to my channel. And today we will discuss about the sandwich and competitive ELISA in this session. The sandwich ELISA is one of the most useful immunoassay format and it is designed to detect the soluble antigen. So in this match antibody pairs are used. Each antibody is non-overlapping part of the antigen. Capture antibody is coated on the well and the detection antibody is added to the well. So there are two forms of sandwich ELISA and it depends on the number of the antibodies used. So it's direct sandwich ELISA and the indirect sandwich ELISA. So in this, the solid plate has the capture antibody and the antigen sample is added. Then this is incubated, followed by wash. In direct sandwich ELISA, the label antibody, which has the chromophore over it, will be detected by using the ELISA reader. And the indirect sandwich ELISA, the secondary antibody, which contains this chromogen substrate, is added over it and which is detected by using the ELISA readers. So for example, in hepatitis B, we use this sandwich ELISA method. So the solid plate is having the coated antigen or antibody, and then we will add the sample which contain either the antigen or the antibody. Then this is incubated, followed by washed, and the enzyme added over it. Then this is again incubated, followed by washing steps, and then we add the substrate. Again we will incubate, and then later on we add the stop solution to stop the reaction. And this colored reaction is read by the ELISA spectrophotometer. These systems are useful when antigen are in a crude form or at low concentration. So in these cases, the antigen cannot be attached directly to the solid phase at a high enough concentration to allow successful assay based on direct and indirect ELISA. The sandwich ELISAs depend on antigen having at least two antigenic sites so that at least two antibody population can bind. There is a difference between direct and indirect sandwich ELISA. So in direct, there is a capture antibody is attached on the solid surface, whereas in indirect, the antigen is detected with the second unlabeled antibody, and this antibody is in turn detected using the anti-species enzyme label conjugate. In direct sandwich, after washing away excess unbound antibody, antigen is added and it's specifically captured. The antigen is then detected by the second enzyme label antibody directly against the antigen, and it is useful where a single species anti-serum is available or where antigen does not attach to the well to the plate. In the indirect sandwich ELISA, it is essential that the anti-species conjugate does not bind to the capture antibody. The species in which the capture antibody is produced must be different. So the advantage of indirect sandwich ELISA is that a single anti-species conjugate can be used to evaluate the binding of antibody from any number of samples. Now we see the competitive ELISA. So here there are four steps. First we have to add the sample, then the antibody, then third is the washing, and fourth is the substrate. So let's look into each of this. So the competition means the inhibition. So these describe assays in which measurement involve the quantification of the substance. The assay also be used for measurement either antibody or antigen. So the principle is two specific antibodies, one conjugated with the enzyme and other present in the test serum. Competition occur between the two antibodies for same antigen. An appearance of in color indicate the negative test. So there is absence of antibodies, that will be color, and when there is a presence of color, then and it will be absence of the antibodies. So here the things have reversed. Earlier when we are seeing the color, that means antibody or antigen is present in that well. Now here If the color is there, that means the test is negative, and if there is no color, that means the test is positive. The central event of competitive ELISA is a competitive binding process executed by the original antigen and add-in antigen. What is the process of competitive ELISA? So primary antibody, which is unlabeled, is incubated with the sample antigen. Then there will be formation of antigen antibody complex are added to the well plates, which are pre-coated with this antigen. Now unbounded antibody is removed by washing the plate. The secondary antibody that is specific to the primary antibody and conjugated with enzyme is added. A substrate is added and remaining enzyme elicit a chromogenic or the fluorescent signal. So here is the diagrammatical representation. So we have two samples, which in one there is antibodies and other sample doesn't have the antibodies. Antigen are pre-coated. Now we will add this sample. So the sample which has the antibody will bind with the antigen. Then we will incubate and wash, followed by adding of the conjugate. Again incubation and the addition of the substrate after washing, and you will see there is a clear color, means the sample is having the antibody, and where you will get the color, that means the sample doesn't have the antibodies. So in this test, microtiter wells coated with the antigen, the sera to be tested are added to the wells and incubated at 37 and then washed. If antibodies are present in the test serum, antigen antibody reaction occurs. The antigen antibody reaction is detected by adding the enzyme label specific antibodies. In a positive test, no antigen is left for these antibodies to act. So the antibody remained free and washed away during the process of washing. When substrate is added, no enzyme is available to act on it. Positive result indicated by absence of color reaction, whereas in negative test, in which there is no antibody present in the serum, antigen is coated well, is available to combine with the enzyme conjugated antibodies, and the enzyme act on substrate and it will produce the color. Again, the diagrammatical representation. The antigen are coated. We have added the sample, and then we have added the enzyme labeled target antigen, which will bind. In positive test, in which the antibodies are present, there will be no color, whereas in negative test, where antibodies are not present in the sample, that will give you the color. There is a difference between the antigen competitive method and antibody competitive method. It depends on the direct, indirect, and the sandwich methods, which we have discussed in the previous videos also. You can check that on my channel. And if we talk about the difference between competitive ELISA and the non-competitive, so the competitive ELISA, it relies on the competition between antigen antibody of the interest and antigen antibody of the reference. Whereas in non-competitive ELISA, there is no competition between antigen and antibody. So the antigen quantity will be detected in competitive ELISA. Best result is low concentration and the low quantity of antigen, whereas sample size does not matter in the non-competitive ELISA. And if we talk about the inhibitor antigen, so there is no inhibitor antigen in non-competitive ELISA, whereas inhibition antigen used in competitive ELISA. So if we talk about the types, so inhibition ELISA is an example of competitive ELISA, whereas direct, indirect, and sandwich ELISA are the examples of non-competitive ELISA. This is for the sandwich method and the competitive ELISA. Tune for the next videos. Kindly like, share and subscribe the channel.